I often find myself saying, when asked to describe Unitarian Universalism and what it is we believe and what our services are like, that we are a faith tradition that churches very differently than any other. If you spent all 53 Sundays in 2023 going to a different part of the country or the world and attending a different Sunday service at a different UU congregation, I strongly doubt that you would find two services that are exactly the same. We UUs take our free and responsible search for truth and meaning seriously. And we pride ourselves on the fact that we are a loose association of congregations, as opposed to a denomination, and that we are so vastly unique from each other. Most of the time, we lift up that uniqueness as one of our greatest attributes, and it is one of the things that keeps people coming back to our sanctuaries week after week. Yet, as diverse as a faith community that we are also a people of history and practices and shared principles that have helped to shape us over the years. One such practice is the observance of the Flower Communion, or Flower Celebration, a tradition that celebrates its 100th anniversary this year in Unitarian churches across the world. It was created for a small chapel service of the Liberal Religious Fellowship in Prague, Czechoslovakia, by a man named Norbert Fabian Čapek, an iconic figure who is one of the greatest heroes in our collective UU history. Norbert Fabian Čapek was born in Radomyšl, in what was then southern Bohemia, on June 3, 1870, to a Roman Catholic mother and an agnostic father. He started serving at the local St. Martin's Catholic Church as an acolyte at the age of 10, and developed an early interest in joining the priesthood. However, as he got older, he became disillusioned and left the church, moving to Vienna and becoming an apprentice to his uncle who worked as a tailor. While in Vienna, he discovered the Baptists and eventually began attending church again, eventually becoming a Baptist minister and traveling across Europe, planting churches from Ukraine to Budapest. As successful as he was as a Baptist church planter, Norbert's theology quickly began to develop in ways that were profoundly different. He was heavily influenced by the Free Christian and Moravian Brotherhood views that were prevalent in Central Europe at the time, views that were distinctly more liberal and anti-clerical than his Baptist faith. He also wrote a number of articles for psychology and political journals that made him already unpopular with the German authorities who were in control of where he lived at the time. And in 1914, he decided to move to the United States with his wife Marie and eight children, to take a position as the minister at a Baptist congregation in Newark, New Jersey, where many Czech and Slovak immigrants had settled in the late 19th century. His arrival in the United States could not have been a more unhappy one. His wife Marie died shortly after their arrival, leaving Norbert a widower. To top it off, he was very unpopular as the minister of the First Slovak Baptist Church of Newark, and went through 2 heresy trials at the accusations of Slovak Baptist ministers. And by that point, Norbert was already considering leaving the Baptist Church, and he wrote in his diary in 1919, quote, "I cannot be a Baptist anymore, even in compromise. The fire of new desires, new worlds is burning inside of me." So, Norbert and his new wife, Maya, a librarian who was also a Czech immigrant to the United States, did the same thing that many of us here decided to do one day. They began to look for a new church home. Eventually, they attended the First Unitarian Church of Essex County in Orange, New Jersey, one Sunday in 1921. They ended up staying and quickly became members. The reason? Their 8 children loved the RE program. Eventually, the Čapeks were so enamored and inspired by Unitarianism, and undoubtedly Norbert's background as a church planter, that they decided to bring Unitarianism back to their newly independent homeland of Czechoslovakia. The entire family moved back to Prague and purchased a small building near the Charles River that they named Unitaria, and became the home of the Prague Liberal Religious Fellowship. Sundays at Čapek's Liberal Religious Fellowship looked very different than the services at congregations today. The services did not include any liturgy or elaborate rituals. There was no excessive decoration in the sanctuary. The minister did not wear a robe or vestments. There were no preset prayers or affirmations. There was also no singing of hymns. What Chopik did have were congregants who formally adhered to the three major religious traditions that were present in Prague: Catholicism, Protestantism, and Judaism. He also had congregants who were beginning to adopt atheist, agnostic, and humanist views that were gaining popularity in 1920s Europe. Chopik, perhaps influenced by his own spiritual journey across three denominations, was eager to find ways to unite his congregation without alienating them from their previously held beliefs that they were still seeking to reconcile. Because of this, Chopik made the decision to do away with the traditional communion of bread and wine that would have been familiar to Unitarian Christianity and decided to go in a different direction. He asked his congregation to bring flowers with them to church. The flowers could be from anywhere, from their own gardens, purchased from a shop, or picked from the roadside. They could be from Prague, or they could come from somewhere else. On that Sunday in 1923, there was nothing but a simple, clear glass vase on the altar. Chopik's instructions were very simple. Members were to place their flowers in the glass vase, and at the conclusion of the service, they were to take a flower from the vase that was different from the one they had originally brought. The importance of this gesture was not a unified common message of the traditional Christian Eucharist, but an invitation to reflect upon the beauty of all the different flowers from creation that had come together to create a beautiful arrangement that was reflective of the uniqueness and diversity that was present within the congregation, who were also all from different backgrounds and had gone through different journeys of creation. It was a ceremony that the Prague Liberal Religious Fellowship, which eventually became the Unitarian Church of Czechoslovakia in 1930, celebrated every year in late May or early June. Chopik's congregation, originally 20 members, grew to 3,200 in 10 years. The Prague Unitarian congregation remains one of the largest congregations in the world to this day. At the outbreak of World War II, Maya Chopik, who had also become a Unitarian minister in 1926, returned to the United States to raise money for the war relief efforts and also served as minister of North Unitarian Church in New Bedford, Massachusetts from 1940 to 1943. Norbert and his eldest daughter Zora chose to stay in Nazi-occupied Czechoslovakia, mainly because Norbert refused to leave his Prague congregation behind. In 1941, they were both arrested by the Gestapo for the capital crime of listening to foreign radio broadcasts and sent to the Dachau concentration camp. Norbert, who was contained in the Pfarrer block, or the priest barracks with other arrested clergy members, remained defiant, and is rumored to have even held a flower celebration at Dachau with whatever flowers and weeds they could find at the camp. Chopik was eventually tortured and sent to the gas chamber, where he died on October 30th, 1942. When word of his death reached the United States, he was eulogized by then AUA President Frederick May Elliott with the following words, quote, "Another name is added to the list of heroic Unitarian martyrs by whose death our freedom has been brought. Ours is now the responsibility to see to it that we stand fast in the liberty so gloriously won." Maya Chopik introduced the flower celebration to the Unitarian Church in Cambridge, Massachusetts in 1940, where it was performed for the first time in this country and has continued to be observed in an almost unbroken line since that time. The meaning of the flower celebration has transcended across generations of Unitarians and Unitarian Universalists, and it has become one of the hallmarks of our UU tradition. Eva Fischerova, a longtime member of the Prague Unitarian Church, described its meaning in no better words than this, quote, "The flower is the most beloved symbol for Czech Unitarians. The symbol of various unique beings, flowers, and people uniting to create a unique bouquet, parting and being given a symbol of anybody in attendance whom I am expected to accept as my fellow sibling." Guided and inspired by Eva's words, the history of the Flower Communion, and of Norbert Chopik's dedication and sacrifice to our free faith, and the shared ideals and principles that it represents, may this centennial celebration of the Flower Communion remind us of who we are and of the beauty in the world we seek to find and to bring about. May it ever continue to be so. Blessed be. Amen. Shalom. Assalamu alaikum. Namaste. Thank you all so much.